We have a number of claims each year involving clients that allege that they were not advised as to how charges like easements or restrictive covenants would affect the use of their land. Here's one example. Our lawyer Kate acted for a couple in the purchase of their new home in Hope, where they planned to operate a doggy daycare. In order to access their property, Kate's clients would be making use of a roadway that ran over 2 neighboring properties. One property was owned by the Smiths and the other was owned by the Gills. About a month after completion, Kate received a distressed phone call from her clients advising that the Smiths had threatened to cut off access to the roadway. It turns out that the client's doggy daycare business resulted in a large amount of customer traffic, and the neighbors were quite annoyed. The clients wanted to know how they could enforce their right to traverse the roadway. After Kate reported to LIF, we discovered that she was retained after the contract to purchase the property was finalized, and there was no outstanding subject providing for title review. However, Kate's standard retainer letter, which she sent out to the clients, set out that her responsibilities would include a review of title and advice on charges. In this case, Kate pulled a title search, which showed an easement registered on title. And on a quick review, she thought the easement granted access to the property. Unfortunately, when we reviewed the language carefully, it only provided that an easement would be required. It did not actually create or grant that easement. Thankfully, we were able to repair the situation by making a successful court application, permitting an access easement to be registered. However, Kate was required to pay her $5,000 deductible and incur a further $5,000 in surcharges on this repair. There are many other instances where charges on title can significantly affect the use of a property. For example, a city may have a right-of-way across a portion of your client's property for maintenance of underground water systems. In that case, any structures or landscaping that the client builds on that area, including a swimming pool, as in one instance we had, must be removed if required by the city. So how can you protect yourself from a claim? First, in every transaction, determine who will be obtaining and reviewing the non-financial charges registered against the property. If you're not going to obtain and review those charges with your client, clearly document this in your retainer and your reporting letter. Also, consider using plain language so that your client understands what you're talking about. If you're going to take on the responsibility for reviewing and informing your client about non-financial charges, review the title carefully and obtain copies of the charges. Provide the client with those copies and advise them as to the meaning and the effect of the charges. And document your advice and your instructions. Ideally, this should be done early in the transaction and not on the day of closing. By implementing and standardizing these steps, you can set yourself up to successfully avoid these types of claims